The shortage of personal protective equipment appears to be one great threat to the world's collective ability to save lives from coronavirus. And many nations are now looking inwards, and Nigeria is not left out. This is our focus tonight on Weekend File. Have a good evening and welcome to the program. Personal protective equipment, which consists of garments, gloves, gowns, or coverall, and in some cases rubber boots, are no doubt the most important and indispensable medical supplies in preventing transmission of coronavirus, not only in the treatment centers, but also in various activities such as cleaning, medical waste management, safe burials, and community care related to the pandemic. Scarcity of these important items, plus collected responses from across the globe, can serve as baseline assessment of their global demand for healthcare services delivery in the context of COVID-19. The situation has become one of the defining stories of many countries, and medical practitioners say shortage of PPE is dire during this pandemic, and therefore many nations are looking inwards for local production of the items. Efforts are being intensified in Nigeria as federal and some state governments have already stimulated action in that direction. Competencies of Nigerians in diverse professions are certainly not in doubt, and putting them to test in the present COVID-19 circumstance is expected to unravel. My guest today is Dr. Omar Binder, former Director General of NOTAP and immediate past SSG. Adamawa State. I am Kirian Umayo. Thank you for joining us. Let's now get started with news items on our desk this evening. In furtherance of his commitment to the security and stability of the West African sub-region, President Muhammadu Buhari is reassuring Guinea-Bissau of Nigeria's continued support for genuine efforts at achieving peace and sustainable development. This was while granting audience to that country's President Umaru Sissoco Embalo, who paid a one-day visit to Nigeria. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has the report.
Visiting Nigeria for the fourth time since his election on the 1st of January this year, President Umaru Sissoco Embalo of Guinea-Bissau is the first head of state to be received by President Muhammadu Buhari amidst the coronavirus pandemic.
You know, me with President Buhari, we don't have the relation between two presidents. It's the son and the father. This kind of relation I have with Baba. And for me, in this situation or another situation, I can come to see greet my father. That's why I'm here.
So what have you come to tell him?
Just the situation in Guinea-Bissau.
Indeed, the situation in Guinea-Bissau dominated discussions behind closed doors between the two leaders that lasted more than 1 hour. Nigeria played a significant role in stabilizing the political and security situation in the West African country, which faced serious threat of disintegration following disputed elections. President Buhari's Nigeria was equally amongst the first ECOWAS countries to formally recognize Embalo's presidency on coming to power on February 27 this year. The highly appreciative President Embalo is now in the process of forming a government of national unity in Guinea-Bissau and once again needs the support of the Nigerian leader.
The highlights was essentially that, getting the support of, Mr. President before he formally presents his anti-corruption program, which he's launching, and he wants to follow Mr. President's footsteps on that, and then also changing the constitution and bringing all the parties together for a government of national unity.
So what did the President tell you?
The President assured him that Nigeria was going to be behind him and that he, Mr. President, is always available to give him advice and to support him in any way possible, because he, Mr. President, believes in the stability of all the countries of the West African region, and that he, Mr. President, would not spare any effort in ensuring that there's stability, political stability in Guinea-Bissau, and to really give all the support to also enable economic development.
Before his election, the 47-year-old President Umaru Sissoco Embalo served as army chief as well as prime minister of his country between 2016 and 2018. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has restated his position that Nigeria will indeed listen to science before traditional or any new medicine to be administered on the nation's citizens as cure for coronavirus. The president made this known at a meeting with President Umaru Sissoco Embalo of Guinea-Bissau. State House correspondent Adam Sambo again reports.
The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, led by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, had informed the nation that a consignment of Madagascan coronavirus cure donated to Nigeria and other West African countries had been shipped to Guinea-Bissau. On a one-day private visit to Nigeria, that country's president, Umaru Sissoco Embalo, brought along with him samples of the traditional medicine as shared to African nations by Madagascar. President Muhammadu Buhari said his position on all such herbal or traditional medicinal postulates had remained the same. Nigeria, he said, has institutions, systems, and processes capable of verifying any such formulations. He emphasized that without the required endorsement by such institutions, his administration will not allow any such native postulation against COVID-19 be put to use in the country. As at the time of filing in this report, Nigeria had recorded 5,445 confirmed cases of COVID-19, and efforts are being intensified towards flattening the curve and ultimately containing the pandemic. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Well, thank you, Adamu. U.S. President Donald Trump is set to restore partial funding to the World Health Organization as Africa records over 78,000 cases of COVID-19. Let's join Deborah Brooksland Sunday for updates on coronavirus in Nigeria and other parts of the world.
India's coronavirus cases has surpassed that of China, and Mumbai's war against coronavirus has pushed India's cities' hospitals to breaking points. Doctors say relatives are too afraid or unable to claim their dead families because they are quarantined. Reports say United States administration is set to restore partial funding to the World Health Organization. President Trump suspended U.S. contributions to the organization on April 14, accusing it of promoting China's disinformation about the coronavirus outbreak, a claim the agency denied. In another development, the World Health Organization has launched a global platform for open and collaborative sharing of knowledge, data, and intellectual property on existing and new health tools in the next few weeks to help countries combat COVID-19.
Investing in health is not just the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do.
And figures on the Worldometer at about 7 p.m. local time show that 310,421 persons have died from the dreaded coronavirus disease out of the 4,677,068 confirmed cases, while 1,785,329 persons have recovered. The African continent has now recorded 78,194 confirmed cases of coronavirus, with 2,630 deaths, while the number of recoveries stood at 29,453, as displayed on the COVID-19 dashboard of Africa Center for Disease Control. In Nigeria, the nation's Center for Disease Control has discharged 1,320 persons from 5,445 infected with the virus, with a record 171 deaths. Lagos, Kano, Katsina, Bauchi states and the Federal Capital Territory remained at the top of the table, while Imo, Bayelsa, Benue, Anambra, and Abia states maintain their positions at the bottom. I am Adebola Brooksland Sunday.
Older persons are said to be more vulnerable to the coronavirus pandemic. To reduce the hardship posed by the COVID-19 and give this group of persons a sense of hope, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management and Social Development has flagged off its distribution of palliatives to older persons in Karachi area in the FCT. Ruth Aguele reports.
They may have seen many decades, but what the world is facing today is one that is new to some of them.
Ka san me cutan da ake kira coronavirus?
To, ina jin suna haɗi. Ina ji ana haɗin coronavirus.
Ali Bako may not know the exact name for the virus, but he is very much aware of his present condition. As a retired security guard, coping with his 2 wives and 11 children during this period has not been easy. But today, luck shines on him. Variety of food items and wrappers, well packaged for this special group of persons. It is the flag of palliatives to be distributed to all the persons in Karachi area of the FCT by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development as part of its COVID-19 response outreach to help reduce the effect of the pandemic on the vulnerable.
It's targeted about 500 beneficiaries. It's going to be distributed amongst the 6 area councils within the FCT. And also psychologically, they will feel that government really cares about them and is coming to their aid to support them, especially during this very difficult period.
We believe that it will go a long way to help older persons who have been at this time affected more than every other person.
Beyond the weight of the food items on their heads, for these older persons, it is a new dawn, irrespective of the gloomy outlook posed by the coronavirus pandemic. In Abuja, Ruth Aguele, NTA News.
There is the need to integrate gender dimensions with female experts into the nation's response plan, with dedicated finance to combat COVID-19. This was contained in the communique issued at the Women Leadership Institute at the end of a one-day international summit. Momso Demiandati reports.
The international conference that often connects women from different parts of the world is this time around connecting not under one roof, but on an electronic gadget and social media platform. This is at the maiden online colloquium of the Women's Leadership Institute to discuss the demand for women's leadership in socio-economic and political sectors of development in the face of the coronavirus pandemic, now and after.
Participate in post-COVID preparedness and positioning.
The youth should be given vocational training so that they should be running with their mothers and the community to run profitable businesses.
Women from Africa and beyond are being exposed to the themes of gender strategic thinking, women's leadership and representation in context against the current pandemic.
One opportunity I see for women, especially the traders, is the onset of the African Free Continental Trade Area, which will come into force in July 2020.
We are not sure when the international line will be open. We can use this line of business in Africa.
But the women, they manage to construct situations to adapt the families, the society towards the right direction.
While commending women for their part in response to the novel coronavirus pandemic, the consensus at the end of the conference reiterates that democracy without equal participation of women in governance and administration is flawed. Momso Demiandati, NTA News.
In other news, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has ordered the House of Representatives to maintain status quo on the Infectious Diseases Bill, which has passed first and second readings. Justice Ifeoma Ojukwu, who gave the order following an ex parte application filed by the former representative of Kogi West Senatorial District at the National Assembly, Senator Dino Melaye, through his counsel, Nkama Kolam Okoro, he is asking the court to declare that that the bill constitutes a gross abuse of and is likely to infringe upon his fundamental rights if eventually passed into law. Justice Ojukwu, while ruling on the ex parte application, also summoned the Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila, the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, the Inspector General of Police, as well as the Clerk of the National Assembly, to appear before the court, and directed that the respondents be put on notice. The court has fixed the 20th of May for hearing of the application. Providing technical support to COVID-19 response in Kano is one of the key mandates of the ministerial task team sent to the state. Another is a training of frontline workers in handling emergencies. Abdullahi Mustafa, who was among the participants at a training session on prevention and safety for media workers, now reports.
They are not trained to examine or treat patients, but media workers are in the front line of response to the COVID-19 pandemic. This informs the partnership of the Ministerial Task Team and Kano State Government to organize a training session on prevention and safety of journalists against the disease.
Is to see how we can further build synergy between the media and medical practitioners in Kano State.
As the health workers are vulnerable, the journalists too are vulnerable.
Section 22 of Nigerian Constitution, Your Excellency, gives us the mandate to serve as the watchdogs of the society.
Anytime. Presentations, therefore, were on what is COVID-19, risk communication, safe media, as well as infection, prevention and control.
We will also train doctors on how to talk to journalists.
We are educating people and we need to know what it's about.
Participants at the training session were drawn from electronic and print media organizations across Kano State. In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
Saudi Arabia has announced over 1 million barrels per day reduction in its crude oil production to support the slumping demand that brought the price of crude to an all-time low. Nigeria's Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Timipre Silva, described the gesture as a difficult sacrifice that will make the world economy recover faster than expected.
A statement by Garbadin Mohammed, Group General Manager and SA Media to Minister of State Petroleum Resources, said Timipre Silva expressed appreciation to the government of Saudi Arabia over its recent voluntary reduction in its crude oil production. He commended Saudi Arabia for its leadership role, both in OPEC and OPEC+. Saudi voluntary production court's action is complemented by similar actions from other OPEC members such as Kuwait, Algeria, United Arab Emirates. The gradual revamp of crude oil prices in the last few days, the minister said, is a consequence of these actions by OPEC and OPEC+, especially the solo effort of the Saudi government. Silva assured that on its part, Nigeria has been working assiduously to keep to the April 12 OPEC+ agreement in spite of obvious technical and other challenges. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
More than 100,000 persons in Kogi State have benefited from food items and essential commodities distributed as palliatives for 3 local government areas. Francis Udoja reports that the Federal Commissioner, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, Bashir Garba Mohammed, carried out the exercise in Ayimba, Dekina Council area of Kogi State.
The people are predominantly farmers and fishermen living around the rivers Benue and Niger. One of the major natural disasters that is affecting their settlement in recent times is that of flooding. The Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Commission decided to assist affected areas with food items and other essential commodities.
Before this present time, we'll be passing through a lot of hard work of flood and other crises in our community.
It is our duty to provide them with care and maintenance. We will continue to support the state.
The Federal Commissioner had earlier paid a visit to the Kogi State government to intimate the government of the purpose of his visit.
We want to commend your efforts
the effort of the ministry, the effort of Mr. President for the rapid action to helping the vulnerables.
It is believed that the gesture will go a long way to meet the yearnings of the people. From Anyigba, Dekina local government area, Francis Udojo, NTA News.
The Nigerian military says it has destroyed Boko Haram terrorists in the Sambisa forest area of Borno State via massive airstrikes conducted by the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole on 15th May 2020. A statement by Coordinator, Directorate of Defense Media Operations, Major General John Enenche, notes that the operation was executed based on the credible intelligence reports, as well as a series of intelligence surveillance and reconnaissance missions, which showed that the terrorists had upscaled their activities in the settlement by importing additional fighters and increasing their logistics stocks preparatory to attacks on troops locations and surrounding civilian settlements. Consequently, the Air Task Force dispatched Nigerian Air Force fighter jets to attack the target area, neutralizing many BHTS as well as destroying their logistic facilities and other structures in successive passes, thereby further degrading their will to fight the armed forces. And the armed forces says it will sustain the tempo until peace is restored in the region. You are watching Weekend File on the network service of the NTA, and it's nice to still have your company up to this moment. Today, our focus is on the local manufacture of medical supplies with emphasis on PPE, personal protective equipment. I'll be right back after this break.
I wish to once again commend the frontline workers across the country who, on a daily basis, risk everything to ensure we win this fight. For those who got infected in the line of duty, rest assured that government will do all it takes to support you and your families during this exceedingly difficult period. I will also take this opportunity to assure you all that your safety, well-being, and welfare remains paramount to our government. I am using this opportunity to express our deepest condolences to the families of all Nigerians that have lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is our collective loss, and we share your grief.
Mama, Uncle Kim just called me. His wife just gave birth. Hey! If not be God, though, now who go do amo? Now who go do amo? I thank God. Boy or girl?
I was too excited to ask. Let me get my phone and call him. Mama, it's a... Mama, what's wrong?
So, I no fit see my grandpikin now as dem do obodo oyibo.
Mama, I have a surprise that will cheer you up.
Introducing Sunday Data Plan. Enjoy Sunday browsing. 200 Naira gets you a whopping 1.25 gigabytes. Glow Unlimited.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Guy, what happened? This COVID-19 is not easy on my business, so my client just put the project on hold. Imagine that one of last week. They cancelled it. And I am scheduled to call my tax officer next week. What do I tell him?
Relax. FIRS has it sorted already. That's why they issued palliative measures to cushion the effects of COVID-19 on taxpayers. Remittance of VAT, which used to be on or before 21st of every month, has now been extended to the last day of the month. FIRS also states that it's imperative that companies whose revenues are in foreign currency and personal income, tax returns for foreign affairs, non-residents, military and police, immediately check their website for important updates as well as information on late returns penalty. All supporting documents can be submitted later to the tax office. For all those who cannot access email facilities, there are lots more. From now till further notice, FIRS says all taxpayers can now take advantage of its simple, user-friendly and robust e-filing process to submit their documents online instead of visiting tax offices. Dedicated email addresses for each of the offices are available on their website, www.firs.gov.ng. Stay safe and comply with all the guidelines issued by the government so that together we can make Nigeria working again.
This broadcast is powered by FIRS, Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Nigerians, let us take responsibility. Stay healthy, stay safe, and curb the spread of the virus. Take responsibility. The coronavirus spreads from one person to another. Let us avoid crowd gathering of any kind for any reason. Take responsibility. Avoid traveling from one state to another during these lockdown restrictions. Obey all the rules that are put in place. Take responsibility. Stop spreading fake news and unverified reports about the coronavirus. There is no known cure for COVID-19. Take responsibility. Observe all the measures that can help stop the spread of the virus. Together, we can do this, but only if we take responsibility. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
This administration accords priority to the development of our country's railway transportation.
The federal government rail modernization project is all about improving and changing the system of the rail.
New modern rail stocks are being procured to meet the demand of servicing passenger traffic and also to deal with freight.
The method of transportation is my attempt at responding to the question of how do we maintain and manage all these infrastructures that we are building.
I would say I'm very impressed, and since boarding, the seats are quite convenient.
And I found it really enjoyable to do this service.
We're introducing the e-ticketing very soon, so that you can buy your ticket wherever. You don't need to go to station.
We want the Nigerians to take ownership of these projects and be partners with us.
You're welcome back. And now my guest, as we earlier informed you, is Dr. Omar Bindel, the former Director General of NOTAP, and of course, immediate past SSG Adamawa State. So you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Right, so we're going to engage you with a conversation after the first two reports. Now, artisans in Aba are not relenting as pacesetters in the manufacturing of competitive locally made goods, which of course has resulted in securing partnerships with some foreign countries. Their unique creativity has come handy in the face of COVID-19 with the manufacturing of products or essential products for the prevention of the virus. Neka Ono tells us more.
This is Imichaka by Ngwa Road, where face masks are being produced to meet the needs of residents of Aba and beyond. Their work has brought down costs, even as the quality of the product is high. What they produce here in Aba is not only limited to face masks, they are also involved in the production of personal protective equipment for health workers, still at affordable prices.
When the governor told us to produce locally made PPE, now through my own initiative as a fashion designer, we crafted out something unique.
Beyond all this, they are also involved in the production of sanitizers to help residents protect themselves against COVID-19. This they are also complementing by converting buckets to serve as source of running water for hand washing.
People buy it, and as I'm working it, they will buy it.
I increased my production since COVID-19 started.
Produce sanitizer. Our own sanitizer is very good. The only challenge we have that our people look down on our products.
The artisans in Aba, through their creativity, believe that they have to make their own statement in the fight against the pandemic. In Aba, Neka Onu, NTA News.
Thank you, Neka. The daily rise in COVID-19 positive cases in Kaduna State has challenged medical and non-medical experts to look inward in production of personal protective equipment and clinical facilities to halt the spread and facilitate treatment of persons infected by the dreaded virus. Suleiman Abdullah Hirgachikum brings us up to speed with the initiatives.
Since the declaration of coronavirus pandemic as a global health concern by the World Health Organization, medical and non-medical experts have put on their thinking caps towards finding a cure and protective equipment against the dreaded virus. As part of initiatives in the fight against the pandemic, Kaduna State government is collaborating with the Defense Industry Corporation of Nigeria, DICON, to produce personal protective kits for its frontline personnel, while the Barodiko Teaching Hospital, Kaduna, one of the most famous health institutions in the state, has keyed in with the production of hand sanitizers, face masks, and other personal protective equipment.
We give our staff this one to wear and then use it to further protect themselves, especially against flashes that may eventually fall on our staff, on the eyes of our health workers. These are some of the things that we are doing locally here in the hospital.
Assuming I am infected now, the shield and the face mask will not allow me to infect anybody.
Already, a COVID-19 testing center has been established at the Center for Neglected Tropical Diseases, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, with the initial capacity to test 500 suspected cases and future plan for rapid test of 2,000 suspected cases.
Our results are quite precise. In fact, what I did was comparing exactly the result I got from Sokoto, repeating exactly the same thing here, and even confirming what we have in Abuja. All of them went as we expected it.
The best facility you can think of in terms of equipment, in terms of protection for the personnel that will be involved, is in place.
One of the most critical equipment for sustaining the lives of coronavirus patients is the oxygen ventilator, and the Nigerian Defense Academy engineers rose up to the task by producing it. While researches progress, the global community awaits breakthroughs for either preventive or cure for the dreaded COVID-19. In Kaduna, I am Suleiman Abdullah Hirgachikum, NTA News.
All right, now let's turn to my guest, Dr. Omar Bindur. So one of the major challenges globally is, of course, the shortage of PPE, and virtually every nation, including the developed ones, are short in supply. Now you have watched two stories, that should efforts be made by Nigeria to see how we can, on our own, begin to manufacture these items. So what's your impression?
Well, actually, COVID, our corona as a virus, has jumped into our country, and it has killed some few people, and some few people are affected. It's bad. But actually, it has also opened a window of opportunity for the entrepreneurial Nigerians. Look at the very wide requirements from measuring temperature, all the sanitization bits and pieces, all the face masks, all the PPEs, and so on and so forth. And look at how Nigerians have just sprung up to these opportunities, designing things, trying to get the regulatory organizations to formalize them, manufacturing things to make sure that we are self-sufficient, and so on. The opportunities are very, very wide. I think the next level, in line with Mr. President's agenda, is literally to ensure that Nigerians are fully supported with skills, with power supply, with standardization of institutions, so that we understand the opportunities that this COVID has brought. We are now on an island. We are on our own. The culture of going out of Nigeria to go and buy things and dump it on Nigeria should be over. I mean, in this country we have over 200 conventional universities. Even if you say each university should come up with a very standard, well-branded product, we can do it. This country has over 300 research institutions. If you say each research institution should come with one thing based on its mandate, we can be self-sufficient, and so on and so forth. So I think this coronavirus is a bad virus, but actually it should inoculate us entrepreneurially and industrially to come out of it on top.
Yes, you have a science and technology background, and we've heard that some students are already producing ventilators at different universities. Right, and of course the story of Jos said that 2 engineers who have never seen ventilators before had to revive the one that was abandoned for over 6 years. That's at the Jos University Hospital. They were able to revive what has been abandoned and what have you done. What does this tell us, in terms of local technology?
Well, it's not just the revamping of respirators, designing bits and pieces. It is even the time. Look at when we went to Naseni. In 5 days, they came up with sanitization facilities. They walked through tunnels fantastically in green, white, green. Look at the respirators that they came up with. Look at the hand washing facilities that is popping up all over the place. And I think, as I said before, Nigeria, most people say that it's a sleeping giant. I think it has woken up. We should not lose this momentum. We should make sure that, you see this? Look at this now, for example. As we have when I came in here, they were spraying me all over the place with sanitization facilities, and I said, even NTA has become an international television set. And I asked, where did you buy these fantastic sanitization facilities? They said, oh, it's locally made, contributed by some of our engineers. This is part of the boom that is actually happening in this country. And I believe that if we take these opportunities, sanitizers, masks, respirators, all the PPEs, I mean, if you take it to the secondary level whereby we want to answer the call of Mr. President to lift 100 million people out of poverty in 10 years, you cannot do it without technological products. It is about manufacturing things, standardizing these things, selling them, and making money.
Now, with respect to COVID-19, just like you said, we have been inoculated entrepreneurially. That's your world. And you have been in charge of NOTAP, right, which is a National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion. Now, you were at Naseni, when they brought out the kind of disinfectant door or gate, as the case may be, which of course means that if you pass through it, it will just disinfect you, right? Using, you don't have to touch anything. I mean, it's something that they did hurriedly in 2 weeks, within that period. Now, what is the process of advancing? All these products are at the artisanal level. How do we advance these products, to move on?
First thing is, I take one example, the Naseni bits and pieces. These were designed on paper and on the computer, modeled on the computer and seen standard crispy technological evolution. They've come out with a product totally manufactured by raw materials in Nigeria. Even the chemicals being sprayed were actually based on their partnership with Niprid and Narit. They came up with, it's totally Nigerian. And the next thing is to ensure that functionally it's working, and then you take it to the regulatory organizations like NAFDAC and Standard Organization of Nigeria, who should also be very quick on it to make sure that they check all these things, put medical personnel on it, who should know whether there are toxicity issues, and so on and so forth, quickly again, and then you brand it. Once it is standardized, then people should be making the cup, the plastic, the branding, and the chemical. It is all spread as a cluster. And before you know, Nigeria now is making products that are internationally acceptable.
Some states are making frantic efforts, towards engaging some factories in the production of medical materials. For instance, Cross River State, came first in this connection because the governor started the mandatory wearing of face masks, right? And they started by distributing about 1 million pieces of it, and they are manufactured by a state-owned factory. What role should government now play, not just at national level, but at subnational level?
I think that governor is a dynamo, professor of the highest order. He's demonstrated in agriculture that he can do it. He brought all the hydroponics and the trickle irrigation and so on. He's producing seedlings of rice massively. Then all of a sudden, all this corona came up, massively again, manufacturing facilities, standard, with sewing machines and the materials. And I think from that point of view, we should be able to now take it to the next level. We should establish this Cross River bud, or spin-off, as we call it, into a hub that should actually be spread all over Nigeria, so that every state government should be able to produce something like 2 to 3 million of these bits and pieces, so that it becomes a culture for all of us to wear it and be able to be protected. This is the way to go for Nigeria.
All right, thank you. I will return to you very shortly after the break. You're watching Weekend File. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, the conversation continues.
Cadbury Hot Chocolate 3-in-1, a delicious combination of rich cocoa and wholesome goodness of milk. Just add hot water to get an instant chocolatey treat. Cadbury Hot Chocolate 3-in-1. Just add hot water.
Available in stores at 18 naira.
Action. Make your home the place to be with GoTV's super cool kids channels.
That sounds fun.
From funky friends that'll keep even the little ones busy.
All right, everybody, let's do this!
To learn as you watch educational shows for curious young minds.
You can do some amazing things.
There's plenty for everyone. Tune in to our kids shows and get everything you need to keep the kids entertained and learning the fun way. GoTV. Live it, love it.
We have observed the lockdown. We have practiced the measures in order to curb the spread of the virus, but we can do better. The coronavirus spread is increasing daily, and only together can we cut down the numbers and defeat the spread of the virus. Remember, COVID-19 is not a death sentence, and a recovered patient cannot spread the disease. Do not stigmatize. Do not hesitate to report any case, or if you have come in contact with anybody that has been infected with COVID-19. If you have cough and fever, please stay at home and call your state hotline. Find state numbers at www.covid19.ncdc.gov.ng. Remember, it is for your own good and for the good of every Nigerian. Let us do better and defeat the virus. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Now believe this Koroti. You know if you touch black man. If you like, gather the whole Niger, come together, make the cough. Nothing.
Which one you want?
Give me V&D.
I beg, get small pieces.
How much you want to give him?
Give me 200. Take your change now. You don't want your change.
My people, this coronavirus, that's a serious matter. May una wash your hands regularly. Come use alcohol-based hand sanitizer. If you no see water, wash your hand. Make una sit down for house. You see this virus, so it no get leg. Now we dey waka kurukere. No waka around make the virus for die. No forget, say, the betterment of our people. Now for your handy day.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
I'm Taiwo and I'm Kenyan. We live here in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
We've lived here for 15 years.
Yeah, we're here to dedicate this video to my cousin.
My dear cousin who lost his life
due to coronavirus. His name was Baba Femi, Adebayo Femi. He was a good guy. And he was
left behind his wife and two little kids.
2 children. He was in the ventilator for 12 days and he died. Anyways, we are here to alert everybody, both in Nigeria and diaspora, to please stay safe.
It's not enough to say stay safe.
Maintain the social distancing, because it's easy to just get into the routine and say that other person also had coronavirus. If I get it, I'm young and strong and I'll be fine. But it's not about us being just young and strong.
You know, here in Brazil, we've blamed the president, blamed everybody, but the responsibility still lies on us.
Please, if you have to go outside, maintain the social distancing. Wash your hands all the time.
Use your face mask.
Use gloves if you can. And once you come inside, you return home, just try as much as possible to disinfect yourself at all times, because it's real.
It's real. People don't have to die before we value life.
Yeah, and we don't have to also lose our loved ones. If we can tell everybody, if we can inform anybody, inform everybody you know, to please
stay safe,
stay at home.
We don't have to die.
My cousin is gone now. I wish I could bring him back. I'm inconsolable. My heart is broken. But please, if you can, stay safe.
Stay safe.
Please
remain at home if you can.
And now let's bring you the details of the Cross River experiment, where the investment of the state government in the early production and distribution of face masks, as well as its effective experiment style of the no mask, no movement order, have been described as some of the factors contributing to the COVID-19 free status of the state. Paul Abel reports that these are views of key players in the implementation of the COVID-19 policy in that state.
Personal protective equipment, PPEs, come in different kinds, but the commonly produced ones in Cross River State are nose masks and hand sanitizers. The exemplary conduct of government officials, sensitization, consciousness and compliance level of the public have been attributed as the other contributing factors to the success story.
The mask has not just been produced for Cross Riverans, but it has also been sent to other states to support the fight against COVID-19. Presently, we're producing a 3-layered face mask at the Cross River State Garment Factory. And we're also working on the production of the overall, which would help for people who are working in isolation centers. Also, we have been producing some form of leg wear, which they use over the boot.
The COVID-19 is about 0.2 micron, thereabouts. So ours is about 0.3 micron. So we try to mitigate. We want to be as perfect as the N95, but then we meet some level of standard.
In terms of compliance, I can very confidently tell you that with what we've seen and going even with the recent days, we have at least 96% compliance rate.
With other government policies, including locking out at interstate boundaries and international borders, as well as supply of masks to other states, has not only helped in protecting the people, but also boosts the economy of the states. In Calabar, Paul Abel, NTA News.
After successfully producing 500,000 pieces of professionally acceptable face masks, Ondo State government is now set to commence the production of some other components of the personal protective equipment PPE for the use of medical workers in the front line of the fight against the spread of coronavirus. Darius Olumoko reports that government's decision is in response to demands by health workers in the state.
Another confirmed case of COVID-19 being brought into the Ondo State Infectious Disease Hospital in Akure. The well-trained, properly kitted health workers move in to receive the new patient. It is a risky endeavor for the health workers. That is why personal safety and precaution are placed above everything in the fight against COVID-19. But the challenge remains a serious shortage of personal protective equipment around the world.
Even in developed countries, they are having shortages. So every country is beginning to look inward. And that may be the way to go. So some of these PPEs can be manufactured locally. The only thing is that we make sure that the standards is up to standards.
This is the Ondo State makeshift factory intended to be used for the production of some PPEs like apron, hand gloves, and face masks. The over 600 artisans to be used have delivered over 500,000 face masks, which have now been distributed to members of the public across the 18 local government areas of the state.
The texture of the material used for the apron that we know is also very similar to this. We are thinking of the possibility of using this product to make the gown. So that makes it easier. All other things can be assembled.
They use medical fabric and it will be sourced from the medical equipment dealers.
We will sew exactly all the materials needed were being provided.
Among the 19 coronavirus pandemic cases so far recorded in Ondo State, 2 are health workers who contracted the disease in the line of duty.
There has been a cry from different angles, including us, telling the government that there is a need for more PPE.
Ondo State government says the production of the PPEs will start in earnest as resources have been mobilized for the job. In Akure, Doris Ulumoko, NTA News.
All right, thank you. Dr. Binter, you've watched 2 reports now, one from Cross River, where we had a broader perspective to what the government did, as against the discussion we had briefly on Cross River State. Now again, we're talking about Ondo State and the giant steps taken by that government. But some state governments may not have the financial muscle, to embark on massive production of this magnitude. And now, what should be the role of the private sector in this? We have billionaires in this country who don't take interest, in promoting Nigeria's local products, at least in terms of commercializing them for massive production.
I think both government and private sector working in a PPP arrangement should change this our culture of anything that pops up, and if you want to help, it's free. Private sector and government coming together should launch things that we standardly call as venture capitalists. Young people who have demonstrated that they have the capacity and the capability to contribute towards the solutions of this problem should be supported with soft loans, some with even grants. Some should have their facilities or acquisition of equipment and so on from secondary sources easier, so that we can be able to move to the next level. But this is a value chain thing. The universities and the research institutions must understand now that they have to change their procedures of normal doing things to doing things based on need. Young people who are in universities must understand that it is not just going to school anymore. It is going to school to learn how to participate to solve problems in our country. You see what I mean? And then the next level is, you see how palliatives are floating all over the place. It is about rice, onions, condiments, and so on and so forth. All that has to gradually get into the value chain so that farmers are coming in, processors are coming in, so that we are packaging and palliating people with our things, not buying things. Even the packaging should come actually from Nigeria. Then you move into the medics. Even traditional medicine, everybody thinks when you mention traditional medicine, it's about grasses, leaves, and so on. Even the normal tablets that you swallow, the active ingredients have come from those traditional things. We have the people. We have professors like Professor Martins, the Zainab of all these people are ready. So the value chain for Nigeria, I think, in the words of Professor Tana Isong, we are ready. And we are ready to take these opportunities and run with them.
Research institutes always cry of poor funding, and that has affected the output in terms of churning out research results. Some of this research work, of course, is quite demanding in terms of finance, and that has, of course, affected their output very greatly. What can be done? You have headed one of such institutes. What should be done, to see how these research institutes can come up? Because in other nations that are in the first class in terms of recognition by government.
Well, you see, everything is cultural. Our country is a country where you don't have a research fund, a pool of funds that supports people. I think, as the Honorable Minister said, it is gradually coming onto the surface. But our researchers must change their culture of waiting for the budget. I used to fly a joke saying that Cambridge University in the UK, or MIT in the US, and ABU in Nigeria Now, all universities, they have big gates, they have lecture theaters, they have professors, they have PhDs. But if you ask MIT, how much are you repatriating from your knowledge from industries and other international sources back to your university, they will tell you $200 billion US and so on. Ask ABU, how much are you repatriating? ABU will tell you, or Ibadan will tell you, or Nsuka will tell you, we're waiting for government budget. This culture has to change. Our researchers must understand that they must write proposals properly, they must source for funding for research properly. Earlier you asked me about how private sector can be able to contribute to this. This is it. Unless private sector see a winning proposal that can take private sector activity to the next level, they're not going to invest their money. But it's there. You have the knowledge. Dangote can invest billions of dollars into research projects that can push his spaghetti factory to the next level, his gas factory to the next level, his cement factory to the next level. So the way our own researchers work have to change a little bit to the extent that they have to reform too.
All right, I will stop you here, sir. And thank you again for your time and your insight. You know, we're talking about the production of coronavirus-related medical items and all, you know, like you say, they work in chains. All right, Dr. Omar Bindel, thank you once again for coming. Next is sports.
Bundesliga is back and is on NTA Star Times.
In other centers, Borussia Dortmund walloped Schalke 04 4-0, while Hertha Berlin were 3 goals better than Hoffenheim. The excitement of the return of football was incomplete without the fans.
An empty stadium is not something that most players will want to play in, but the way it's looking, it is what it is. They have to actually play football in an empty stadium.
It's good news for all football followers around the globe. You and I know that football, whether we like it or not, is one of the best sports that a lot of people follow around the globe.
NTA continues the coverage of the Bundesliga next week Saturday. With sports updates, Tamara Ebiwe, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari condoles with the stalwart of the All Progressive Congress, Senator Binta Masi Garba, over the death of her father, Corporal Garba Tize Tumba, retired, who worked with the president during the military era. In a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President, Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu Tumba, who died after a protracted illness in Bazar District, Michika Local Government Area, Adamawa State, served President Buhari as a driver in the army. The president described him as a loyal, diligent and respectful soldier. President Buhari commiserates with all the family members and friends of the deceased, praying that the Almighty God will accept his soul and comfort the family. Former Minister of Education, Alhaji Mohammed Bello Dogondaji, is dead. He was aged 84, a descendant of the Sokoto Caliphate and pillar of its traditional institutions. Alhaji Mohammed Bello is survived by wives, children, and grandchildren, including Alhaji Hassan Bello, Aminu Bello, Dr. Haleru Bello, Ahawau Bello, and Abulahi Bello. A statement by Hassan Bello for the Dogondaji family prayed Allah to forgive his trespasses and bestow the everlasting peace to his humble soul. And a quick check now on the weather for tomorrow. And that's our program for today. We thank you for watching. We'll see you soon.